Stemming off the last podcast we did about menopause, we covered so many topics that covered the perimenopause, it covered menopause, it covered symptoms, and so many other related issues that women go through when they're in those stages of their life. But the most I felt got the most traction and engagement that people wanted to know more about was the weight gain issues that are associated with both perimenopause and also menopause. So I thought that would be a really good topic to sort of talk through some of those issues that are troubling a lot of women going through those stages in their life.
Well, that's correct. So what we see is as women get into their 40s and 50s, even though they're eating the same diet as they did in their 20s and 30s, suddenly they see weight gain, and usually it's around the midsection. Right. And they're quite surprised. And this weight gain is often quite stubborn, and they don't know what to do because, you know, some people train harder, some people go on a very low carb diet, but it's very hard to shift this weight. And why is it that all of a sudden things change in their bodies? That's what we're hoping to discuss in this little interview now. So, yeah, it's very, very common. Yep. And we want to know the reasons.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's start with the beginning then. So let's start with the first stage. So you're perimenopause and you start to notice that some weight starts to come in some areas of the body that you're very unfamiliar with. What could be some causes of that? I know you mentioned food, but are there any hormonal related issues plus the food that can create that?
So what we might want to do is just understand what's actually happening. The way that the body functions, according to Chinese medicine, shifts from one way of being to a new way of being. So you might want to see like a car that runs off petrol, all of a sudden doesn't run so well off petrol. It has to be refined, or it has to be, what's that, high octane new fuel in order to run efficiently. That is a normal part of life, that our body changes, but how our body adapts is up to us.
Right. So that kind of sounds like it would go across most stages of a woman's life cycle, really, at different various
especially during menopause.
Yeah.
Your body changes. In Western medicine, we say that the estrogen production reduces, and so that there is a hormone imbalance. Right. And in Chinese medicine, we say that the yin in the body reduces, which is the plumpness and the moisturizing kind of aspect of our body, is suddenly depleted, and then we get a whole lot of other symptoms. So what I'm saying is that we can run at this new level without any issues. It's the change that people find the hardest. Okay. I mean, there are obviously women in their 50s and 60s that have gone through menopause that have made it successfully, and they're no longer suffering from the issues as badly as women in their 40s and 50s are suffering, such as the hot flushes, the weight gain, the insomnia, and so on. So hopefully by having a bit of a talk and by doing a bit more research, women understand that they can be responsible for how that transition occurs.
Welcome to Pure Alchemy, your go-to podcast for the latest in wellness and holistic healing. My name is Anissa, founder of Pure Alchemy. My passion for natural health led me on a journey to explore the abundant resources nature provides, from ancient healing practices to modern therapies. Here at Pure Alchemy, we dive deep into the world of wellness, mind, body, and spirit. Whether you're curious about acupuncture, energy healing, or natural remedies, this podcast is here to guide, inspire, and empower you on your path to well-being. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's embark on this journey together.
So do you think as well that the weight gain that would happen, whether it's both naturally or from not readapting your lifestyle to those stages of your life, that can also amplify a lot of those symptoms associated with menopause and perimenopause?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Too often I see women that come to my clinic that are highly stressed, not sleeping, they've got too many commitments, they're pushing their body, They want to lose weight, so they're training 7 days a week,
right,
24 hours a day, and then wondering why nothing moves.
right,
But there is no change. In actual fact, they're getting larger and larger.
right.
And what worked before doesn't work now.
Yeah. So
Okay.
talk us through some of those examples, like some things that we can do moving forward.
Okay, so from a Chinese medicine perspective, there's 3 organs that are mostly affected by the perimenopause and menopause changes, and they are the liver, the kidneys, and the spleen, and they get out of balance. And so when the liver is out of balance, we tend to get accumulation disorders or blockages, because the liver in Chinese medicine is associated with the smooth flow of energy and blood. And so if it's obstructed, we get accumulation, things get blocked and things don't flow as well. And so any kind of like mass, sorry?
And that contributes to the weight gain when it's not flowing or clearing?
Absolutely, absolutely. Then there's the spleen, which in Chinese medicine is associated with digestion and assimilation. And if it's out of whack, you tend to get fluid, dampness, tend to get bloating, and we tend to get phlegm, dampness, which can accumulate as fat-like deposits around the body.
Right, okay. So it's a mixture really of both weight gain from fat deposits and also inflammation of the body as well. So it's like a combination.
Yeah, I mean, if you're translating it into China, from Chinese medicine into Western, we are saying, yes, there is inflammation, there is stagnation, there is fluid accumulation, there is hormones, and there is deficiency.
Right.
I mean, every woman goes through menopause somewhat differently. 20% of women have no symptoms at all. You want to push yourself into that 20%.
Right. So how can we push ourselves into that 20% though?
So what we started to say was inflammation. Anything you do to reduce your inflammation assists with your menopause and also with weight gain and so on. So, for instance, one of the best things you can do to reduce inflammation is to get good sleep.
Right.
Because you want to reduce your cortisol levels, right?
Yep.
Because cortisol levels are highly caustic and acidic and causes our body to be incredibly inflamed.
Right, okay.
Managing your stress, whether it's by sleeping better, not just sleeping, but sleeping well.
Yeah, right, okay.
You want to be getting the sleep where you go to bed and you wake up and you're in the same position that you went to bed in and you feel like you're ready to jump out of bed. That's what you want to do.
Sure. And I suppose exercise can play a part in helping you sleep better as well, can't it?
Absolutely, but then over-exercise can be inflammatory as well.
Okay, yeah. So what sort of exercises? I think we might have touched base on this on a previous podcast, but talk us through changes that a woman, you know, that's going through these cycles would need to change in their exercise regime to match the cycle of the body.
Right. So you noticed that before I made the example of the woman that trains 7 days a week and then wonders why nothing's moving.
Yeah.
Often women getting into their 40s and 50s are quite depleted, as in their energy stores are depleted. They just don't have enough juice in the battery.
Right.
What you want to do, and so if you're pushing yourself thinking, I'm gaining weight, I need to work harder, faster, longer, stronger.
Yeah.
You're pulling out of that battery, that resource, and you're burning it and you're actually making yourself more depleted. So you don't want to actually do that.
No.
What you want to do is to move the energy, to circulate the energy, but how do you do it in such a way that it rejuvenates you? So, I'm not saying that everyone has to do this, but, the old women that you see in the park in China and they're doing the
Tai Chi and the Qigong.
They're actually moving their energy, they're moving their blood.
Right.
They're focusing their mind and coordinating their body, which is, what do you call that? The spatial awareness.
Yeah.
They're activating different parts of their brain.
Yeah.
And they are actually embodying qualities at the same time. So that's actually quite a good type of exercise. But I'm not saying that everyone has to do this. Obviously, if you're somebody that's trained weights all their life and you don't have to do that, you can actually push a bit harder so long as you're not depleting yourself.
Right, okay. So it's really about the maintenance of this type of exercising you're doing. So for example, if you used to run 12 Ks a week, maybe just cut it down to 5 Ks a week if needed. So you're not overexerting the body.
There's no right or wrong for everybody, but if you're
Sure.
running a marathon every week, I would say that that wouldn't be beneficial for the long-term health of most people.
Yeah, right. Okay. So you do have to readapt for your, not just your
You
health,
have
but
to
your
read
life
that for
cycle.
you.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, how you tell is when I wake up, what do I feel like? Do I feel like
Yeah.
crap? Or do I feel like I'm trying to hit the alarm to put it on to snooze?
Yep.
Am I ready to get up? Do I feel good? Do I feel refreshed?
Yeah.
Because there's all sorts of sleep. And we want to get that sleep that's rejuvenating.
Okay. What can trigger inconsistent cortisol in the body apart from overexerting yourself? Is there foods that trigger it?
Of course,
Yeah.
everything you can think of can, because inflammation or stress is highly personal.
Yeah, right.
So, if I have a thought about somebody that I don't like, I could trigger my stress. Whereas someone else that might have the same experience might not be triggered by that. So it's highly individualized.
Right.
Foods that have additives can cause more stress in the body.
Right.
That can be detrimental to your health.
Right.
The fact that we're breathing in toxins from, industry can also be highly inflammatory. There's things that we can do that are highly inflammatory, like smoking and things like that.
High sugar diet.
Yeah, so everything we do, everything we consume, how we think, our own ability to work with our subconscious in order to mitigate what we think is stress is all part of it.
Yeah, right. And I guess weight gain in itself would be creating stress for someone if they don't sort of know what direction to take. That would create stress as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. But just talking about the foods that we eat, for instance, it's been proven that a lot of seed oils are highly inflammatory, right? So things like this is going to increase our inflammation and can cause weight gain quite easily.
Right. Okay. So it's not just, it's really a combination that you need to pay attention to when you start hitting those cycles, right? You need to pay attention to what's your sleep cycle, what's triggering a bad sleep cycle, what foods should I really not be having anymore? Do I need to change my fitness routine and do more softer workouts? The hardcore aren't working out anymore. I guess you really have to reevaluate where you are and how you feel.
Absolutely. And like I said, everyone's individual. We're all born with different challenges. Some of us is health.
Yeah.
Some of us is our consciousness and how we perceive the world.
Yep.
Some of us have, I don't know, work issues. Some of us have money issues. Some of us have relationship issues.
Yep.
Everybody is different.
Yeah.
But there's actually one other thing that I should mention that causes inflammation, and that is viral or pathogenic infections.
Right.
Can actually cause a lot of inflammation as well. Colds, flus, staph infections, all of that kind of stuff. Low-grade infections that we never get rid of is inflammation. When people come in their 40s and 50s and they say, I've put on a lot of weight, we usually support them by looking at their organ system. That is our primary goal, because maybe some people somewhere give diuretics or things that purge their bowels, but that is actually not a solution. We need to make the mechanism or the machine that the body that they're in function better, because not everybody that goes through menopause necessarily puts on weight. So, we're looking at what do they do to keep their organ system strong.
Sure.
So herbal medicine's great at balancing your organ system. It helps you function better. Yeah. Herbal medicine is also good at helping you sleep better, much better, and in a better quality sleep.
Right. Okay. What sort of Chinese medicine? Just name a few key herbs.
Yeah, there's quite a lot. So it's actually very difficult. But I think some of the popular ones that people might know is jubjub, which is often used as a heart tonic. and a heart sedative. Red dates is another name it's often known as. There are other things, I know that often when I see women coming into the clinic, they're talking about, oh, but I take reishi and I take ashwagandha. They're the most common ones that I hear. But like I said, you're looking at balancing the organ, and just as different, I said that everyone's different and everyone's organ systems are playing out differently. There are as many herbs and formulas that actually differentiate between different types of insomnia.
Right, okay, which would be would also be different herbs for different individuals depending on what the issue is to help them go through menopause, right?
I'll name a few formulas that I commonly use, and one is called Tianwan Buxingdan, which is really good for liver and kidney yin deficiency and a miscommunication with the heart. So there's deficiency between the kidneys and the heart. That's the main category I'm looking at. Guipi Guipitang is another one that is often used for spleen deficiency causing insomnia, but it's also a spleen tonic. So, but it also calms the heart. So there's another one called Anshan Dingsa one, which I commonly use for insomnia, and that is more when there is liver involvement. There are other ones called, Swanzao Rentang, and then they're just the common formulas that you use. But then there's so many variations and different ways to mix it with other kind of herbs and also other formulas in order to tailor it to the person.
Well, okay, so let's simplify it then. So say someone who's got some menopause symptoms comes in and you assess them, and they've already sort of explained that they are making some other life changes, but they just need some assistance. As a Chinese medicine and acupuncturist therapist, how do you sort of determine that it could be the liver or it could be the spleen that's creating? What sort of symptoms would someone present that would sort of help you evaluate where there might be a problem that's contributing to both the weight gain and the lack of sleep?
So one of the most common ways is, if we're just going to simplify it, 101 TCM. Anything kind of raging heat is got to do with liver. So if someone's angry and they're frustrated and they're red in the face and they're, little things set them off, there's a liver component. Definitely. Okay. If people are kind of dry, kind of like their skin is dry, their eyes are dry, the insomnia, the heat is worst at nighttime. They wake up with hot flushes at nighttime. That is more of a kidney yin deficiency kind of style of insomnia. And people that have a spleen kind of insomnia, like they're constantly thinking, they can't relax, that they're kind of, that maybe their digestive system isn't working as well, because spleen has to do with digestion. So, and you can have combinations. You can have someone that's liver and spleen or kidney and spleen. So there's no one thing. We have to pattern differentiate and then apply the principles with acupuncture and herbal medicine.
And there are specific key points in the body that you target when you're treating someone with the acupuncture needles. What are some of the key areas of the body that would help with the spleen, the kidney, or the liver?
That is going into like acupuncture theory. But so it's a bit too hard to explain because the meridians run all over the body. But basically you have to get your pattern differentiation correct. And you spend 4 years learning this. So basically, for instance, the spleen meridian runs from your toe to all the way up into your torso of the body. Think of the body as a energetic system with lots of little kind of meridians or kind of circuits where energy flows. And being an acupuncturist is somebody that kind of uses a needle or some sort of tool that just kind of tweaks how the energy flows throughout the body. And those energy pathways affect the inside of the body.
Gosh, it's so interesting. I mean, there's so much detail into assessing someone and working the best way forward for them to really help them manage their health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What I would say is that getting to understand points and also doing the correct diagnosis is key in order to fix these kind of issues.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, let's go back to the whole weight gain thing, which is where we started, and we sort of evolved from there because I feel like there's always so many different components, right? And it can lead to so many things that can contribute to that weight gain. As you mentioned, it could be that you're exercising too much, or maybe you're not exercising enough. You're not sleeping enough, or maybe, is there getting too much sleep?
So, yeah, there is a thing called somnolence, isn't it? So,
I've never heard of it. That's why I'm asking. Wow.
I could be saying it wrong, but that is people that can't get out of bed and they're sleeping all the time. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a good thing either.
Disorder, considered a disorder as well.
Right, okay. And can that be problematic linked to things that are not functioning well, especially if you're menopausal and you don't have the energy to get out of bed and you just want to keep sleeping?
Absolutely. So apart from feeling wired, the other thing is people might feel totally fatigued.
Right.
And, I mean, it's like the chicken and the egg. What comes first? If you're not sleeping well and you're hot flushing, that takes energy.
Yeah, of course.
But then you'll be feeling tired, and it's kind of like a terrible kind of cycle where one kind of exacerbates the other.
Yeah.
But I will say that as we age, our digestive power tends to get weaker,
right?
Unless you're doing things to prevent that from happening.
Right. And how can we help our digestive power then to assist us going forward?
Yeah, how we go into perimenopause and menopause is, how's your diet been your whole life?
Yeah.
Right. Been eating improperly, kind of eating when you don't need to, right, or eating too much, because that puts stress on the digestive system.
Sure.
Another thing that puts a lot of stress in the digestive system is eating a lot of meat. Meat takes a lot of energy to digest.
Right.
Are you eating too much meat? Look at our ancestors. They probably had meat. They had the roast chicken once a week, maybe.
Yeah.
If that. And then they had fish on a Friday, and that was it.
Yeah.
It was mostly grains and vegetables and fruits for the rest of the week. Now we are having meats.
Yeah.
2-3 times a day. Carnivore diets become really kind of trendy these days.
Yeah, very.
And people think it's fantastic. And in a way, you will kind of lose weight quickly, but it will accumulate into problems later in life.
Right, okay. Especially for a woman who's going through a menopausal cycle.
I would not recommend. I know that there's quite a few women out there doing carnivore as they're going into their 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
I personally do not recommend it.
Right, okay. Yeah, interesting. I mean, I don't think I could stomach it. I don't have the digestive system to process a lot of red meat specifically, so I do stick to my chicken and fish. I can't imagine. I mean, I back in my 20s, I thought with an iron deficiency, I had to eat red meat every day, and I didn't realize until many months later I was actually killing my system. I went to a new naturopath, and they just said, you've just there's too much going on in your body because you're eating red meat every day because you think you're deficient. So I just had to really change the way I was eating back in my 20s because of that. I just imagine in my 40s eating it every day. I don't know how people are doing it. Yeah.
Interesting that we have so much access to milk and eggs and red meat, and we're still so iron deficient. It's interesting, don't you find?
Yeah.
It's interesting that people don't think, oh, my digestive system is subfunctional. Yep. Maybe I should look at that as to the reason I'm not absorbing iron.